Hello and welcome to the Playing Arts Podcast, where we put the spotlight on artists in our community. I'm your host, Andy Needham, and joining me this week is Prateek Vatash. Prateek is an artist and illustrator based in India. His work involves neon-infused visuals, often combining 3D and 2D mixed media elements inspired by retro aesthetics, the occult, video games, interior design, and architecture. Welcome to the show, Prateek. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem at all, man. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. And let's kick things off by learning a bit more about you and where you come from. So I guess, if you could share a little bit about your background, that would be awesome.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm based in India in a city called Bangalore. So this is where I finished my art and design studies as well. And it kind of became my home since then, and I've just settled in, had my first job here, had my, transition to my freelance phase as well in the same city. And it's been going good so far.
And so you mentioned your studies there. Where were you studying?
So it's this college called Srishti School of Art. It's an art and design college where I kind of selected my stream as graphic design, as visual communication to be specific. So that's what I had specialized in college. And a lot has changed since then, of course. Like I realized, as my, since graduating, I kind of realized, where my real interests kind of lie. So, I had to try out certain things post-college, have those experiences and then eventually discover what I really wanted to do. And yeah,
100%. I get that. I did a multimedia production degree. Like a whole range of things. And even and right at the end when I was doing my final project, it was like a music video, and ended up just sort of getting into visual effects, After Effects, and doing kind of a lot of that sort of stuff, motion. And it turned out to be motion design that I chose. So, after university, but you go through all of that to kind of discover what you don't want to do. But
right.
You just sort of pay for the privilege of discovering that as well. So, so that's cool. So when did you I'm presuming kind of graphic design is more sort of traditionally kind of has its roots in 2D and illustration. So that's where that kind of foundation came from. And when did you start picking up 3D?
So I was like you said, my college courses almost, they dealt with very, principles of graphic design, layouts, typography, working with publication, things like that. And I kind of discovered that I wanted to try out something, more, something that was a little more off the topic at that time. So, 3D was a little, it was pretty new. This was around 2011-12. So I kind of discovered Cinema 4D at that point, and just started fooling around with it, for just to see what potential it has, what kind of outcome that could get me. Could I really actually apply that, that software to what I'm doing in college, just out of curiosity. And that really started transforming what I had been doing even then, and, really started shaping up my style in a way. So I think that was a beginning of something.
That's cool, man. Yeah, it's amazing what adding another dimension to the work can do to really sculpt and change the style. I think we can dive into the style a little bit later, but do you have from what I can see, you're not doing kind of NFTs as a full-time thing. Some people do, but you obviously have something else that you do in that in as well alongside that. So, I mean, do you have with this, with a sort of day job and a daily routine, like how do you fit art into your life?
So I mean, I freelance full time now. So
Yeah.
art is literally what I do all day.
Yeah.
It's always been commercial projects mostly, balanced with a bit of personal work. So I always make sure that I'm doing work for myself
Yeah.
along with commercial work, just to keep evolving and to keep feeling like things are going forward. Um, yeah, so most of the time it's commercial work. That's when that keeps me busy through the day, and I whenever I get time I try to pick up some personal projects, and some of them have transformed into NFTs as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's always a balance of both sides.
So when you're working, like you've got like a client brief or something like that, and some maybe an idea comes to you. How are you kind of like keeping track of ideas that you want to do for personal projects and potentially NFTs as well?
So I mean, it's not an organized process, I would say. I have a digital notebook which are filled with like really random notes of oh, I have this one spark of an idea, so I'll just throw it there. And another day I'd have some fragment of an idea, so I would throw it there. Maybe once a week I would go through those and review those, and oh, maybe this thing works for could connect with that, and maybe throw in a few images along with that. So it's like a journal that I maintain for my ideas. That's very helpful for both personal and commercial work as well. Just to know how things are going, random thoughts. So it's
I think that's probably a good thing, keeping it in maybe a digital notebook, because just having scraps of paper and Post-its around, like, I've got tons of them. Just it's hard to just keep track of those. Like, what are you using as your digital notebook?
Oh no, Apple Notes. That's working.
Oh, okay.
Fine.
It's fairly simple stuff. Yeah.
So it syncs out well, and I can just sketch some stuff on the iPad, and it's very easy
you could do that. Yeah, so it's very easy just to get something in there and out of your brain, and then there it is. It's ready for next time.
Right. It's really replaced. I know what you're talking about, paper and physical things. I've tried that in the past, and it's much easier to just do it digitally, at least like for me. Yeah.
I might start incorporating maybe notes instead of just writing on these Post-its. That's I'll take that one away. Outside of creating art, what else interests you? Any hobbies?
Yes, I game a lot. So I have a PlayStation, Nintendo. So I have to keep that as part of my like daily schedule as well, at least an hour or two every day,
really?
just to unwind. Yes, I do.
Seriously, that's cool.
That also like it inspires me in certain ways, and really depends on the game. Sometimes some of these games have such great art direction, it just lets you just puts you on a different tangent altogether, and that has an effect on the work you do daily as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, there's there's so much good art in games now.
Right.
So cinematic as well. That's really good. What are you playing at the moment then?
So I recently picked up Death Stranding. I don't know if you know about that.
No.
That's a Hideo Kojima game. It's an amazing experience. There's been that. I've been playing a little bit of Persona 5. That's like a Japanese RPG. So all of these games, I've been picking up elements from those. Like from Persona, I really got inspired by the menu design of that game, which has been so awesome. The fonts that they've used,
Right.
the general art style, and I sort of started, seeing some of my work have that influence as well, because I've been spending so much time, absorbing that.
Yes.
So yeah, it's fun to have that.
So where does this like, this love of gaming go back to? Is it like early childhood? And
Oh yes, forever, I would say. I mean,
yeah,
since I was 5, 6, I've always had a console.
yeah,
Started out with Mario and the really early games.
yeah.
And and then I had a PC after that, so had a lot of DOS gaming involved. Had a lot of early 2000s Doom. We had GTA, everything basically. Yeah, always been a part of.
I mean, is it something that you've ever considered going into, like yourself, like going into sort of game design or?
So I did consider that. So when I had to decide what to study,
Yeah,
one of my aspirations was to get into environmental concept art.
that's awesome. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so I tried a lot at that point, and I tried a lot of tutorials and matte painting, Photoshop, like painting on Photoshop at that point with my Wacom. Gave it a shot, which was fun, but at that point, it didn't seem like I was, going anywhere with it. So I just decided to, okay, let's try studying something else and see where that goes. So yeah, that's probably when I possibly connected, me entering the gaming side.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah.
Let's because that that degree and all that you did, or the learning, the education has obviously informed your style. I'm assuming there was kind of a lot of typography involved in that, and so I mean, we'll get to have a look at it in a minute, but before we do, can you just maybe describe your style?
That's a very difficult thing to say, because every year every other year I've seen my style, change a bit. But there's always been this element of 3D, that's kind of something that has been defining my work from the start. So, also there are a few shapes that I've been using right from the beginning, and I try, I keep certain elements of that consistent. And consciously I try to make sure the past also syncs with what I'm doing now, in some way. But style wise, I do a lot of spaces. I do a lot of abstract machinery looking kind of digital artworks. Work with surreal interior spaces, compositions. Pretty much those.
Yeah, and very colorful, pieces as well. There's kind of like a broad palette that you use. I guess we'll get into that in a minute. I'm just kind of scrolling down your Instagram feed because I think that's usually a good place to start when we're looking at, like kind of it's sort of like documents the timeline of where you've sort of begun and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean,
yeah.
And one thing that does occur, I'm trying to get close to the bottom. You posted a lot. Oh, look at that. I'm there. So we'll sort of skip a few of the early pictures and sort of jump in over here. So, there's like I said, there's, even from these early pictures, posts that you've put, there's strong typographic elements and, sort of geometry and,
right. Yeah. Oh, this was my early Instagram phase. Like I had no idea what I was posting, so it had like random pictures in between. There's a picture of a dead bug.
Yeah.
Then then I started curating it.
Yes.
I think this
yeah.
is, yeah. There's a picture of a cow as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, are any of these like pieces that we're just scrolling past kind of like, did they sort of define a direction in, the development of your style?
Right. Yeah. So the piece on the bottom left, that typographic one. Yeah. So that's actually one of the first few pieces I did on C4D, which was back in 2013, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is where it all began. I was like, oh wow, you can do typography on this, and add like so many things and make it look great. So yeah, it's a great software. Let's keep pursuing these.
That's awesome, man. So that was the sort of discovery point, and then yeah. And one thing that kind of keeps coming back is the what I'm assuming is the 36 days of type.
Right. Yeah.
Is it a contest or is it just a design challenge? I can't.
It's an open challenge. So I mean, you are free to create whatever you like. You can create like a few letters if you want, or you can do one thing every day. It's totally up to you and how much you can handle. And I personally, so what you're showing right now is the first time that was the first year I tried this. So every day was, just try out something very different, like a different style, different kind of direction. And yeah, I just went with whatever I had in mind at that point. And yes.
Were you getting these out fairly quickly? What sort of time are you spending on them now? Then compared to now as well.
I would say that really depended on each piece. So at that point, I know there are a few pieces that I spent like a couple of hours on, and some were done in like 30 minutes. So it really varied. Also depended on how much time I had available each day. Because I was doing it on the day itself.
Yeah.
And that was challenging for that point, because I had not done a daily, like a daily art challenge before that. So pushing to create something every day was a good exercise as well, and that helped.
Yeah. Wow, these are cool, man. I like this one. This is a P, and then I guess you did a V.
Yeah.
Some initials going on.
Yes.
Very cool. So this continues, over the years.
Right.
But like in amongst all of that, maybe we would just scroll to the top now. And just, so you're doing it again. But these, we can see like this is probably more in line with this style that you were describing. That sort of has this sort of architectural element to it. Yeah. So do you want to sort of kind of talk about this one?
Yeah. Okay, so this was actually an NFT. These two both they were showcased here at Miami in November, I think. Yeah. But yeah, these.
That's cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say this has every single color I love. So,
okay.
So it's very descriptive of my style. I would say I love neon colors, and I love having this creating these spaces of escape, where they may or may not be real, have certain elements that don't exactly coincide with reality, but put in a few objects that that make you believe that it's real, and have a balance of that, make it super pop, super bright, have a little bit of retro influence to that. And yeah, that could pretty much sum that up.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that word, that retro there, because I think I've seen this on a couple of the pieces, like, In fact, if maybe we just sort of jump over to here, you can kind of see like there's a finish to them that has this kind of little sort of retro vibe to it. You know, it's like a slight sort of like maybe a slight sort of blurring or softening or something. I'm not sure. Like, how do you want to just describe that? Like how you kind of achieve that finish to it?
The color correction is so if I have to say the process, it starts off as a base render on like C4D, and then there's a lot of post processing involved on Photoshop. So that's where all these colors actually come out. So the render may not even have these level of contrasts, or the highlights that you see on certain objects are they are accentuated on Photoshop later on. Like the glow that you see, certain shapes, the certain shapes that are added on top, balance of shadows, highlights, everything, that's all like post processing.
Wow, man, that's interesting then. So whereas like a lot of people I've sort of talked to, and because of 3D rendering and so powerful now, and you can get a lot done, get most of the way there, like in the actual 3D render, because of certain like camera effects and adding LUTs and all that kind of stuff. Your process seems like it's very different then. It's more about blocking out in 3D and just getting the broad sort of feeling for the piece and the composition and stuff like that, and then finishing in post, a heavy post process.
Right. So that's kind of how it is. I create a set in 3D and basically photograph it with a camera there, and the picture that I take there is what I'm using to actually create the final artwork. It's something like that.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, playing in 3D is very much like being a kind of photographer on set or whatever, because you're kind of positioning lighting and things like that. So are you actually, because you do a fair amount of post, are you concerned, are you using special passes to kind of relight in post, or are you still getting the lighting sort of pretty much dialed in 3D?
I would say the majority of the lighting is done in 3D. I might have a sun lighting along with a couple of area lights, couple of spotlights. Basically, get my colors and things that I want to highlight and place all in 3D. And then if I want to highlight a couple of things, I would probably do that in Photoshop. Like if you want to talk about this, for example, I have a brighter focus in the center, whereas there's this kind of like a vignette on the side where I've darkened out everything else, so where you're focusing on. So that's all done on Photoshop. So the base 3D render probably looked a little flat, and just to make it a little more dramatic and emphasize certain aspects of it, I would color correct it on Photoshop. That's
yeah, very cool. I think the look is great. It's very striking, and yeah, I mean, when we come back to kind of like a more of an overview, you can tell it's like by the same artist. It has this like feel of a collection to it, and this is just a very small selection of the work you generate. It's you're obviously quite prolific and in sort of making art, and so yeah, man, it's you it seems like you have very sort of fluid and rapid way of working then once you get into it, and does it come together quickly, or have I got that all wrong? Does it take a while to actually are you a pretty organized artist, or
No, I don't think there's anything called an organized artist. I think, I'm sure as well, we all have these phases when some days you're feeling super inspired, and things come very easily, and then you suddenly have an artist block which could last a week, 2 weeks, and then you're like, oh no, I don't know how to make anything, and everything that I'm making just looks like shit. So yeah, that happens, and then you have to make an effort to break out of that creative block and find some inspiration, motivation from somewhere. It's always an up down, like comes in waves.
It definitely does. Yeah. So what do you turn to then to get you back on track?
What I've started doing recently is to just step away from my workspace. That really helps. If I'm not able to create anything, I would just shut down my systems and go away, even in another room, just engage in something else, watch a movie, step out, go for a walk, go to a cafe, see other people, just, any time away from the screen really helps. Or just do a bit of reading, anything that's not art related as such, because I know that the mind tends to, keep going back to, how is this going to add up to my work? How is this aspect of what I'm doing right now? Does it help me at all or not? So consciously try to stay away from, those things. And so that kind of resets after a while, and then you suddenly know, oh yeah, maybe things might work out right now.
Have you always been able to kind of, have there been has it been days, or is it just like usually, going out, you're within a few hours you can sort of be like, yeah, okay, I can come back? And
I mean, if that really depends on the work as well. If you have a commercial project, you don't really have you don't have a choice.
Yes.
To have a creative block, because you have deadlines and you have to get stuff out, and in those days you have to make sure that you do whatever you can to get back into the flow as soon as possible. But personal work is a very different story, I would say. That could take, I've been really out of it for like weeks as well, where I've just been like, oh, I don't feel like doing any of it at all. And when I actually come back to it, it's a very different experience, because then it's really looking at things with fresh eyes, and the results show as well. I can see in the work that's come out that, oh, this is so much better than me trying too hard or trying to make something work at that point. So yeah, that works.
That's a good take to step away and just kind of reset yourself so that you can recharge and then come back with this like renewed energy where you're actually like inspired and like want to make make it. And I think from that, like you said that the results are usually better than what they could have been, perhaps then. Yeah.
Wow. Most of the times, yes. Yeah.
How many has that happened on a recent piece that you've put up that we could see, and maybe you could sort of share that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, on my Insta, I put up everything. That's like my blog. So if you go up, yeah, probably the middle piece.
This one here.
Right, this and the next one.
This one.
Yeah, so this came out after a long break. Like,
so this is Skylands. Okay, yeah. Just for those listening.
I took like a lot of time off from my system in this case, and I really wanted to. I was kind of questioning what my style is, what it means. How is that actually working out for me, and what it means. How is it translating to others? And so this was a lot of introspection happening at that point, and this came out then. So.
And you've asked a question on, as I say, what do you feel
Oh yeah, I write a lot of stuff on my. I scribble a lot of things on my artwork. I write things in codes. I hide a lot of things in layers. So it's also like a like a landmark for me as well. So if I've had artworks that I've opened years later, the PSD file, and then I'll have a layer which is hidden, and I would have written something on that layer for myself, and
Cool.
so it's so I'm kind of putting my thoughts, my anything that's happening in life into what I'm doing every other day.
That's awesome, man. Like when you, because if you will get into like NFTs and stuff, I'm sure, but like you just made me think of when you're minting something, if you're using like a custom contract, you can actually have hidden properties. So all these little things could go in there, and obviously people could query the token and find these. But like it's interesting that you say that, because you could then sort of build this into an NFT. Fesk did that recently, and he asked a question, and he said, "What?" Yeah, and I actually ended up winning it because just by sort of virtue of like learning how to use Etherscan properly and going through like the process of doing custom contracts and stuff. But yeah, there was a hidden property there, and you had to then sort of tweet that back to him. But it's a very interesting thing, and I think for it's very like you said it's like a journal, Instagram, but putting the notes and stuff to yourself in the file is really interesting, I think. And because you can do that on anything, can't you? You can have a sort of comment, certainly in Mac OS you can have like a comment field and things like that. So I like it. I do like it. Where do and you've got all these QR codes as well. Just like
yeah.
I mean, where do they go? I guess we'll have to find out. But,
yeah, so they all lead to random things. Some of them are like music videos, something I've been listening to while this piece was being made, or sometimes I have text messages, like a random line from a book I read, or something that relates to that certain artwork. So yeah, it's just Easter eggs for anyone who wants to engage, make it a little more fun.
That's really awesome. Yeah. What kind of music do you listen to then when you're creating?
Yeah, so that's a very like broad spectrum. And of course that really influences the work that's being done. So there's a lot of really like pop music, and then there's very heavy alternative side as well. And I kind of keep going, from one spectrum to the other. And I do relate that to a lot now, like a lot more now, because I can see that influence in my work, because I have a lot of grunge going on, a lot of textures, a lot of non-balanced elements having a play, and compositions, things that could be disturbing in a normal situation. Scribbles, pieces of tone paper, a lot of those aspects as well. So I think music definitely makes a difference in that case.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any particular sort of favorite artist that you'll sort of use to maybe get in a creative flow, or does it not matter to you?
Bring Me the Horizon?
I actually don't know.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think they are from UK.
Okay.
I had a phase when I was like had their albums on repeat, and that had an interesting influence on my stuff. And really pop stuff, I've been listening to Charlie XCX, Avril Lavigne, some really mainstream stuff. But yeah, it's fun. I like to keep, have this fun energy going on to, keep things bright and positive, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't have to just
Yeah.
stick to one genre. You just mix it up, man. Yeah.
Right, right, right.
Are there any artists that inspire you?
Yes, so many. I've been following for years. Right since I was in college. There's Peter Tarka,
Mm.
Velvet Spectrum. I know you spoke to him. Love his work. There's Dream Fiber, Andrew Morgan. He's amazing. He has amazing work. There's Boltron, Xavier. He's an awesome person. I love his work.
Mm.
Yeah, those are just a few.
So, yeah, and so you're just sort of just an overall appreciation of those artists, and like, do you, how you obviously discovered those artists, from a while back, because there's some that you mentioned that are just really well established, and are you actively discovering new artists to just to appreciate, or to maybe inform you in your style, or anything like that?
Oh yes, yes, absolutely. I joined Twitter last year because of NFTs, especially, and Twitter has been amazing in that sense. Because I mean, I've come across so many, like, new, different, incredible artists. I mean, I don't even know them, but their work keeps, popping up once in a while, and it's amazing. There's like a whole new world of new styles, new techniques, and that has been having an influence on. I retweet like everything I like, so I try to share whatever I connect with, and how, if that could lead to my style as well.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
that's and yeah, we've got your Twitter handle underneath your name there, so people can certainly sort of find you there at Vatash. So I think let's talk about NFTs, seeing as you brought it up. So
sure.
what's the NFT scene like in India, and then also, how did you become aware of NFTs?
Yeah, so last year, I think if I remember, it picked up in like late 2020, right? And that's kind of like the first time I heard the word, NFT on my Instagram. Like, somebody had posted like, oh, I have minted something, and I had no idea what that meant. So I was like, oh, must be something going on. And couple of months went by, like Jan Feb 2021, and it really picked up. So like every other person I knew was kind of like, doing it. So I got a little more curious. I was like, oh, let's see what this is about. So I started actually reading into it, and it was really overwhelming at that point, because I was like, oh my god, I have no idea how to make any sense of this. What is crypto? What is platform? How does this work? So I really took my time with that. I spent easily a couple of months just like reading the theory about how it works, how these different what different kind of marketplaces were there, how artists are actually doing these transactions. Is it even legit or not? I had that whole conversation in my mind as well. But yeah, ultimately, I got invited to Foundation by one friend, Andreas, and so that's where I put up my Genesis, my first piece, which was in fact like, it's one of my favorite artworks ever. So
is this the studio?
It made sense.
Probably
no, the studio. Yes.
Yeah.
So I had, I minted that as my first piece back then, which was, I think, in June 21. And yeah, it began from there.
So that's interesting, dude, because you joined back in March, and then took a little while longer just to kind of like probably choose the right piece to go on there and all that, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
So
I really wanted to be sure of, at least, or maybe I was overthinking it. I'm not sure, but I wanted to, at least the first thing I put out to be something that I really like myself.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's probably why I chose that.
Very cool, man. Very cool. So, you're on several platforms. Which so from what I've seen is there's Foundation, Maker's Place, Known Origin. So you did Foundation first, or got onto Foundation through Andreas, who invited you, and then how did Known Origin and Maker's Place come about?
No, I applied to them. I applied to Maker's Place. I applied to Known Origin as well. So yeah, they got back to me, and I had plans to release my Genesis there as well, but like things came up. I had a few other, I had there was a few NFT exhibitions that happened in between. So, my attention just diverted. And I took some time off after that. And I was like, okay, I'll just rather do a very good job and release something when it's the right time.
And what was when did you apply? Was it around about the same sort of time, back in March 21?
Yes, I think it was the same time. March, April, I would say. Was for Maker's Place. Known Origin was, sometime later. Because from what I remember, they had certain windows of time when they had applications open.
They still do. I think they still, Known Origin do, I think. And
yes. Yeah.
So there's I think they just had one recently. So they filled up a couple of hundred spots already. But yeah, interesting. I've sort of seen that platform develop, over a course of time, and because it seemed like it was like sort of maybe trailing behind a few of the others, and now it's, I don't know. But is there you're yet to mint on either of those, and you've explained sort of why, which is taking that question away, which is good. But I mean, are you just interesting actually? Do you see, each platform as having a different audience for your work?
I'm yet to explore that actually. So I've only experienced Foundation. I've had one mint on Zora and OpenSea. So those three are the only ones I've kind of explored yet. But I'm sure like there will definitely be like a change of audience for each marketplace, and I do want to make each platform also kind of different category wise. So that's something I have in mind. I don't want to release the same kind of things on each platform. So if that translates out, that could also work.
Yeah, that makes sense. What is Zora? You said, what's that like as a platform? Because it's something that I haven't really explored myself. Probably loads of people know about it, and I'm just, because I keep hearing it come up, so I just wondered what your experience was with it.
So one of the exhibitions that it was a group exhibit. So the artwork was minted there. I mean, it was fine for me. I don't really know how to differentiate. But yeah, it seemed to work well. Everything was smooth, fine.
Yeah. I just sort of went over to Showtime just to have a look, and you've got a couple of pieces that are in a sort of untitled collection as yet, so they're kind of like holding there on an OpenSea, I guess. And
yes, yeah.
Is it? Are you sort of? Would you consider? We were talking about well, I was talking about custom contracts at length, I guess, but like, would you
Mhm.
consider then now that it's, is it something that you've been researching yourself for, putting out your own contract, and then you can sort of, move these probably off OpenSea into, well, rather than it being on their contract,
Mhm.
it would be on yours, sort of thing. Of course, you can still sell them
Mhm.
there and anywhere, but
Right, right. I did start researching a little bit into it, but I'm not entirely sure how to, get into that and make that happen. So I think I have a little more reading to do on that aspect.
Well, happy to
Yeah,
talk you through it offline. Whenever
sure, sure. Yeah.
it's a very artist friendly process, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they seem to keep improving that product, so the
Mm-hmm.
Manifold Studio. So, I think. Are you? There's obviously loads of other platforms out there. Are you actually actively trying to get your work onto those? Just sort of teeing them up for kind of when you're ready to, because the application processes are kind of lengthy on
Mm-hmm.
Super Rare and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
sort of keeping in mind like where you want to be in say 6 months. Is are you kind of like putting together something to say to them, hey, I'm here, and whatever.
No, if I have to plan it out, I would probably, have my pieces out on these marketplaces first, like the ones which I already have available,
Yes.
and use them first, and then gauge my next steps. Like I don't plan to apply to anything new as of yet. So I mean, I will know when the time is right, and I'll go for it.
Yeah.
Really go for it then. Yeah.
I like that. I think yeah. It's a sort of a more methodical approach to this journey that you're sort of taking here with NFTs.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, I tried not to like, get into the pressure because there was a lot of FOMO happening. And, even in terms of my like work process, I just try to make sure I know I'm comfortable with what I'm doing, even if it involves taking enough time, taking my, to understand everything, to take the right steps. And when I'm ready, I will go for it. So,
Yeah, totally
yeah.
makes sense. So, I mean, that's sort of keeping a handle on like you said, you mentioned the FOMO and all that kind of stuff, and all this sort of
Right.
noise that comes out of Twitter, and being able to kind of
Right.
filter that. And so, that is along the topic of mental health. Has
Mm-hmm.
being in NFTs sort of had an impact on your mental health, and it sounds like you manage it pretty well. So but I just curious.
I would say in the initial phase, it was a little like overwhelming. Like when I said like same time last year, and I had to really make a conscious effort to, not let it get to me personally. Just to see, how like FOMO, I was just consciously trying to make an effort, that I don't want to feel like I'm being left behind, because I am not being left behind. I am choosing not to enter right now, and that's fine. And that's something I came to terms with at that point. And that's the same attitude I try to continue even forwards, because I don't see that there's an end to this. So why would I try to rush into something which doesn't have an end? It's it's fine. So when it's my time to experience it, I will go through those experiences and enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Just I mean, I think the whole point of being able to create these digital artworks, put them on the blockchain, or on whatever blockchain you choose, but to it's supposed to be liberating and freeing, and and so why not take your time and just have a bit of fun with it as well, because otherwise it can be, sort of pressure can weigh you down, to sort of be constantly maybe putting more stuff out there than you maybe need to or whatever. So, I like your strategy there. So.
Yeah, definitely. Just try not to put pressure on myself. Yeah, but that doesn't stop me from making personal work. That's always going on the side.
As we've seen, yeah, exactly. And you've been putting up posts regularly on Insta, and I mean, that huge following that you have there. When how did that all sort of come about? I mean, is it just regular posting, or do you kind of engage with your, I guess, people that follow you and things like that?
So yeah, it's a mix of both, I would say. Insta has, it works really different from Twitter, which I discovered, last year. So the thing with Insta is a lot more posts means a lot more engagement, more people discover your work appears in other people's explore, in hashtags. So the way that works is very different. And, just I had to get a grasp of that, So back when I started, like it's been 5-6 years now. It's just been about, okay, I'm going to post a few things a week and see how that goes. And, that just gets it in front of other people who may or may not be interested. They might discover your work, they'll say hi, and, it starts a conversation. They might comment on your work. So I've made a few friends in that process, spoken to so many interesting people, interesting artists. It's a great way to, keep that going, I think.
Definitely, for sure. I mean, yeah, coming back here, I can see like you have stories where, you've got FAQs and, people have, been able to.
Oh, wow. That's ancient though.
190 weeks ago. Wow.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing I'm sort of getting at, that, you kind of put yourself out there to allow people to, to have a chance to talk to you almost directly. And yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. Would you like to talk about your card now? Actually, let's do that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we have it. This from what I've sort of seen, this idea involves like a sort of harmony between the 4 diamonds. So could you just tell me what each of these diamonds represents, and how did you come up with the concept for the card?
So the whole idea was about blockchain being a very, it has strong foundations in ownership and, having the power, having the control over your work. So I just gave each diamond that thing, and, it's all coming together as one unit, and just wanted to visualize that as a card. Yeah. So one aspect of crypto is kind of being represented in each diamond.
Yes, very cool. Yeah. The and so were you how did you sort of become involved in the project in the first place?
I was approached, I think. I mean, of course, I got an email. I think it was a while back. Yeah. So and of course, I was very interested, so I immediately said yes. And yeah. Also, I was very new to NFTs at that point, so this was a very, very great platform to engage with and be a part of this group of artists, and so many of these who have always looked up to in life, it's incredible to be, even included as part of a roster like this. And yeah, that's been fantastic.
Yeah, you mentioned Velvet Spectrum.
Oh yes,
Do you have any other favorites that were part of the deck? I can probably scroll down.
I know Leonardo Works.
Yes.
Yeah, I know him. Khyati, I know she's also from India.
Yes.
Yes, I've met her. Who else is there? Fescue, yes.
Yeah.
Kidmograph, I've always looked up to. Yeah. Jonathan as well. Mark. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yes. Yeah. Render Fruit as well. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's a good collection. It's a good list, and it's one of many.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
I think each card has been so amazing amazingly conceptualized.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, we this was like kind of almost like a big, not a kind of big kind of collaborative effort in a way, I guess, because everyone had to sort of come together and actually deliver something, and it was like a sort of not, it's a rocky road, I guess, just to kind of get that many artists to agree and to get things done on time and stuff. But like, have you actually collaborated with any artists before?
I mean, I've had like a lot of personal collaborations, just fun collabs, nothing commercial as such, and that's something I also keep doing on just to keep myself stimulated as well. It's just amazing to bounce ideas off another person, and sometimes it's great to just hand them over your file and see what they do with it, and vice versa. Just give them a piece of what you've done, and hey, see, maybe you could remix it, maybe you could do something with it, and it really doesn't matter what the outcome is, because it's more about doing that and working with something that's not your own style, and trying to break out of that mold.
Yeah, that's interesting, and yeah, I like that. There's there's something else that we can talk about, actually. The Avant form that you have here. This is
yes.
I guess essentially like a stock imagery site, right?
Right.
But curated by is it Raw and Rendered? Joey?
Yes. Joey has done this, yes.
Yeah. Joey Camacho. And so Prateek's up here along with many other like amazing artists who just go and check out the artist tab up here. But this is another great way of experiencing like Prateek's work and a kind of an overview. And this is, just sort of scrolling down here, you can kind of like, see like the various kind of styles and typographic work and all these, sort of architectural inspired kind of scenes. And yeah, I'm getting a sort of a little bit of a Peter Tucker vibe from some of these, actually, just kind of seeing that. But yeah, man. So I just wanted to sort of let people know that they can actually sort of come to this site as well, just to sort of, have another view of your work. And is it something that sells quite a lot, or is it?
I mean, it really depends. So a lot of times people want to license your work.
Yes.
And I get questions and queries about, hey, I want to license this for some music album or something. So yeah, this in that sense, this platform has been great, because I can just have my work online and they can choose the kind of license and just get it. It generates a license document and everything, and so it works out perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think it's a really strong and well curated platform as well. So you can sort of go there and sort of trust that like this top quality stuff coming out of it. So which I think is awesome, man. And congrats for being involved in that. So yeah, I mean, just coming into like final stages, I think. And what does the rest of the year look like for you? Anything on the horizon that you want to share?
Yes, I definitely want to launch more NFTs. I think that's the plan for this summer. Right now, I have 36 days of type running, which is what I'm focusing on, which I want to wrap up. So that's a personal project for this year. NFTs, maybe experiment. I want to experiment a little more with print, physical media. That's something I have in mind. Get my work out in form of zines, booklets, or some different format. Maybe experiment a little with that. Some of those. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And okay, so there's things coming up, and obviously we're going to look out for whatever and whenever you're ready to post on Makers and Known Origin. We'll be sure to keep following your progress on that. Where can people connect with you best?
I'm available on Insta, Twitter. I'm active on both these platforms. Of course, email is always there. You can reach out to me anywhere.
Yeah,
that works. Yeah,
that's cool, man. Right. And I think with that, we're sort of pretty much at the end of our questions and stuff. So this is our POAP for this episode. So anyone who is listening right now will be able to claim one of these, as you know by now, if you followed the podcast. And I'll be delivering some codes after the show. But yeah, just coming back to you now, I just wanted to say, thanks very much. That was really cool conversation. I've really enjoyed, getting to know you a bit more. And I always like to thank our community who support the Playing Arts Project. And thank you very much to those who are listening live. Thank you for your attention. And yeah, really appreciate the chat, Prateek.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're more than welcome, man. And we'll keep in touch. Well, thanks everybody. I guess all it leaves me to say is we'll see you in another episode of the Playing Arts Podcast.